The Xbox Kinect interface works by combining an RGB camera and depth sensor with a multi-array microphone and a custom processor. The camera and depth sensor work together to read all of the motion in front of the camera, then read the movement as input and respond accordingly. Unlike previous gesture-controlled interfaces, which use time and distortion to read how an infrared light maps itself on a room, this particular device uses information it obtains from the light as it initially leaves the device, allowing it to encode information in light patterns as it goes out, reading the deformation of those patterns to understand the input image. This more adaptable method allows the device to look for and recognize body shapes like arms, legs, heads, and torsos, how they move, and how they will move seconds in the future. The multi-array microphone allows for an extra dimension with voice interface, extracting ambient noise with one array while accepting and localizing commands with the other.
NUI, which is short for Natural User Interface, is used to refer to a user interface that is effectively invisible and based on nature or natural elements.
If you look back at where the computer industry has used historical user interactive devices like a mouse and keyboard, and there's even offshoots of that, like trackball mice and other things, it is to some extent unnatural. It's adapting the human to the way the computer wants to receive information. The bridge then has happened to where now everybody is familiar with touch, which is a form of natural user interaction. Next evolution of this natural user interaction from touch is more interactions with gestures and voice and even other things like, biometric information that you can use from the user just to make it all very, very natural and automatically identify who the user is, maybe facial recognition, be able to respond to their voice, and be able to respond to their body language and to their actions.
The Kinect is quickly moving beyond gaming into other industries. Tourism. Imagine a Google map moving alongside you as you move your arms. A program called Canoodle allows you to do just that, using the Kinect, Google Maps, and third-party software. Education. Interactive whiteboards currently allow students to actively engage in their learning. The Kinect in the classroom could allow multiple users to engage at once, using simply voice or gesture. The arts. A dancer or choreographer can record their movements for record or training, using only the Kinect in a wide-open floor space. Medical. Pilot studies show how the Kinect is being used for physical rehabilitation.
My son plays Wii and he doesn't run, he does this. But with the natural interfaces, you really have to pick your arms up, or you really have to balance on one foot because it's usually, it's using cameras perhaps to see where you are, and then it can give you feedback on what your real motion is, which is really a neat thing. So I think there's a tremendous opportunity in physical therapy and rehab.
In operating rooms. A surgeon can manipulate images during their procedures without touching a computer.
Particularly in an operating room or an emergency room suite, it might be particularly advantageous if you're trying to do surgery and you have an image, a mammogram maybe, or an x-ray or a CAT scan. A CAT scan will have 3D slices, multiple slice images, and some of those can restructure 3D. The surgeon may want to look at the picture while they're doing the operation to kind of compare and match. So you can imagine if you had a Kinect type of a interface and you wanted to just scroll through images, you could just point at a screen in the air, remain sterile, and scroll through. Or if you reconstructed that into a 3D image, you could twist it in space and see where it is, and then compare what you're doing. If you want to do complex things, you really want it to be very natural. Like a surgeon would want to, do this to make the computer spread the incision apart, or do this to sew. And there's potentially a lot of gestures until it's really natural.
Retail. We spoke with HP. They're thinking about how facial recognition features could allow an associate in a store to quickly start working on a register without having to swipe a card or enter an ID number. They could simply walk up to the machine and it would recognize them.
One of the things, obviously, I think that's cool is some of the gaming systems are now inputting face recognition, right? And even if you think about it, bioidentification is a component of that. And in issues of privacy and security, if you could just log on to a system, they've put on thumbprint readers for a long time. But a lot of people don't tend to use them for whatever reason unless you're compelled to. But it would be nice if you just came over to your computer, it did a face recognition, you may have had to do a confirmation, but you could add security by, confirming face recognition with a password. All of a sudden you have two-factor authentication. So, bioidentification is one element of that.